One of the most beloved cartoons in history, Futurama, has a loyal and dedicated fan base. It might not be on television anymore, but that doesn't stop fans from coming up with insanely creative theories about their favorite explorers. We hope you enjoy these Futurama fan theories, and don't forget to hit that red subscribe button to be the first to discover the newest and most exciting Screen Rant content.
These papers. Garbage. This picture of your wife. Pure garbage.
A post-scarcity universe. This theory has some big ideas about the future the show takes place in. Fans have noticed the inhabitants of Earth and other planets in the Futurama universe are incredibly wasteful, with billions and even trillions of dollars to throw around on projects which are ultimately failures. Fans have decided the show takes place in a post-scarcity universe, meaning goods are produced so rapidly and in such abundance, with little or no need for human labor, that everything is extremely cheap, if not totally free. Not only is the universe post-scarcity, but these fans have proof that, with the advancing technology, most inhabitants actually choose to live out their lives in virtual worlds, because no one has to work for a living. The only problem is, no one bothered to tell Fry. He doesn't know he could be living in the virtual world and believes he needs to work, which leads him to the crew of the Planet Express. And why do the rest of the crew continue their work? Because they each have something to prove to themselves, or in the case of the professor, just think wasting money on crazy adventures is a jolly good time.
Whoa, a real live robot.
Bender's criminal future. Ah, Bender. Everyone's favorite sociopathic, fun-loving robot. If you've watched Futurama from the beginning, you might think Bender has always been the criminally-minded, good-time-seeking robot that he seems to be. But a fan theory challenges his shady history. Some wonder if Bender actually wasn't a criminal until he encountered Fry. We first meet Bender when he is attempting to end his life after finding out that he was helping to build suicide booths, which some argue really doesn't fit with the character of Bender we see in the rest of the series. A character who most likely wouldn't care what he was doing as long as it made him money. After his suicide attempt fails because of Fry, the two go off together and end up pursued by Leela. It isn't until he is shocked by an old electrical wire in the museum's Hall of Criminals while he and Fry are running from Leela that his demeanor seems to change.
Hey, he stole my ring!
Sorry.
This theory states that it was the exact electric shock that rebooted Bender, and because he was in the Hall of Criminals at the time, he took on the characteristics of his surroundings, and the rest, well, is history.
I hate my life, I hate my life, I hate my life.
Fry is in a coma. For every movie or television show that takes place in a fantastical world, there's a theory out there which wonders if all of the events are in the protagonist's head. And now we present one of those theories. Fans speculate that none of the Futurama universe exists. Fry is actually still in the year 2000, lying in a hospital bed in a coma. They state that he was never even cryogenically frozen. His imaginary world began after a traumatic head injury left him trapped in his mind, unable to wake up. In one episode, the crew journeys into Fry's dreams to help him recover a sound he remembers from the day he was frozen. The creators of the theory believe the actual sound he remembers hearing is his mother's voice, talking to him from beside his hospital bed. In the end of the episode, he is able to visit his mother in her dream. This next part contains some spoilers from the finale, so watch out if you haven't seen it yet. Fans believe at the end of the finale, after Fry and Leela have lived out their lives together in frozen time and the professor has rewound everything back to the beginning, Fry finally wakes up, back in the year 2000.
Eat my shorts.
Okay. Shorts.
Matt Groening is a time traveler. Many fans have tied together the world of The Simpsons and the Futurama universe by their creator, Matt Groening. We all know The Simpsons seem to have predicted a frightening amount of current events that seem too crazy to actually come true. From Siegfried and Roy's tiger attack, to FaceTime, to Homer discovering the Higgs boson particle, the NSA spying scandal, and the Donald Trump presidency, only to name a few. The evidence keeps stacking up that Matt Groening might be more than he appears. These fans have decided he is actually a time traveler, and Futurama is a documentary of sorts, a warning from Groening about what our future might become. They say the episode of Futurama in which Leela goes to an adorable planet and steals the things she sees there to create a popular children's TV show back on Earth is actually a confession from the show's creator. He's telling us that this is how he writes the cartoon we know and love. While the theory is obviously not meant to be considered fact, it's pretty hard to ignore the growing list of coincidences that seem to be a little too on the nose to be just happy accidents.
Who are you?
Scruffy, the janitor.
I've never seen you before.
I've never seen you before neither.
Is Scruffy a clone? One of the most beloved characters in Futurama is Scruffy, Planet Express's janitor. He doesn't say much, but when he does, he has some of the most quotable lines in the show.
Scruffy's work here is done.
Because we know so little about his backstory or who he really is, he is the perfect candidate for a good old-fashioned fan theory. This one states that there have actually been multiple Scruffys in the universe, or he has died and been brought back to life on more than one occasion. We have seen his rebirth at the hands of Professor Farnsworth after being killed in the Panama wormhole while trying to save his colleagues, but some think that there might actually be more versions of the same Scruffy. In Season 7, we see a salmon version of Scruffy be devoured by Zoidberg and then reappearing. And in the following episode, we see him break his spine, which should be pretty much fatal to a human being, but once again, he shows up a couple of episodes later. Some believe Farnsworth has a cloning machine, and every time a Scruffy dies, he simply creates a new one and the show goes on. We wouldn't put it past the professor, and if it keeps Scruffy coming back, we're totally on board.
Drink that beer and drop the bottle on the ground. Very nice.
Get that robot some more beer.
Why does Bender drink beer? Everyone knows Bender does what he wants, when he wants, and a lot of time this includes drinking. Specifically, Bender is seen over the course of the show drinking a ton of beer, which is a strange thing to do considering he's a robot and can actually taste it, or get drunk off of it for that matter. In the Futurama universe, robots actually need alcohol to function, so it's logical that he would drink, but why beer? With such a low percentage compared to all the other hard liquor out there, or just straight up 100% alcohol, some fans have decided that the entire reason Bender is always chugging a beer is actually to look cool. It fits with his personality, and some believe this is actually driven by an inferiority complex toward humans. Despite rejecting and making fun of them, Bender actually really wants to be a human, and from the outside, drinking beer seems like a very relatable human activity. Now, maybe he just enjoys it or prefers to keep himself running with a slow, continuous supply of alcohol rather than opting for the hard stuff, but it's pretty fitting with his character his motivation would be a bit more superficial than that.
And here we go.
The What If Machine. In Season 2, Episode 16, Professor Farnsworth uses something called a what-if machine to show Bender, Leela, and Fry the results of a couple of hypothetical scenarios they've proposed. At the end of the episode, we see the professor sitting in front of the machine, wondering about all the other what-ifs out there. This particular what-if comes from a group of fans who think it's possible the entire rest of the series takes place inside of the machine. Every other event in every episode until the finale are just hypothetical scenarios being played out by Farnsworth and the what-if machine. They claim the show got increasingly creative after this episode, and the machine might explain why. Now, not everyone agrees with this theory. Since the show is a fictional cartoon, every episode is already a what-if scenario, and it's unnecessarily complicated to make this assumption. But for a science fiction show about time travel, where any number of fantastical and outrageous scenarios play out on an episode-by-episode basis, it's not such a far reach of the imagination to believe this theory could actually be possible.
Let's get a nice feel to it.
Zapp's hidden identity. If you're a fan of the show, you're most likely a pretty big fan of Zapp Brannigan, the seemingly dim-witted captain of the Nimbus ship on behalf of the Democratic Order of Planets, or DOOP. Now, you might think the captain of a government ship would be an intelligent and qualified person who had worked their way through the ranks and into their position through years of service. In the case of Zapp, this is not so true. He has been shown time and time again to be pretty much an idiot, with very little in terms of bravery or leadership skills. This has led fans to wonder how and why he has been able to stay captain. Some fans have figured it out, or so they say. They believe that Zapp wasn't always such a Nimrod, and that there was actually a time in which he was a smart, capable leader. In Season 1, Episode 4, we learned that he defeated the Killbots by sending all of his troops into battle with them.
It was simply a matter of outsmarting them. Wow, I never would have thought of that.
Ultimately overriding their systems and forcing them to shut down. Some believe the trauma of this is actually what caused his current personality, and his behavior is an attempt to be released from his position in DOOP, but to no avail.
Hermes Conrad, Bureaucrat Grade 36.
Secret Agent Hermes. While he may seem like a simple bureaucrat who handles the filing, accounting, stamping, and collating on board the ship, some fans believe that there is more to Hermes than meets the eye. They believe that he is actually an agent of the government, sent to the ship on a secret mission to gather information about the activities on board. He uses his plain job title as a disguise, living undercover among the crew. The theory suggests he repeatedly returns to the government facilities to report back about the goings-on aboard the Planet Express, with the intention of eventually having the entire crew thrown in prison for the rest of their their days. Specifically, fans think the government is after the professor's inventions.
Oh, yes.
Hermes has been tasked to find out and steal anything he can about what they might use to build weapons to make the planet more threatening to the rest of the universe. Hermes seems so harmless on the outside, which makes him the perfect candidate for an undercover operative. No one would suspect a thing.
The only place you're going is nowhere. You've got some freaky DNA and I want to see what's in your genes.
Was MONSANTO bankrolling Futurama? Fan theories come in all shapes and sizes, and range from the plausible and funny to the completely insane, with everything in between. This theory finds itself a little bit closer to the latter, with some fans believing that Futurama was actually funded by the agro-chemical giant Monsanto, turning from fans digging for fun Easter eggs about the show to full-on conspiracy theory territory. The Monsanto theory goes a little something like this. In Season 7, Episode 22, Leela develops a rare condition that causes her to grow tentacles. Her search for a cure leads her to the morally bankrupt industrial giant, Mom, at her genetic engineering corporation, MONSANTO. Once Leela learns Mom has been genetically modifying beanstalks to feed the hungry, she is outraged. Once she learns Mom can engineer a bean that will cure her, Leela promptly abandons her moral outrage and principles for the cure to her disease. Theorists believe that Leela's willingness to turn and see the good in Mom and MONSANTO is proof that Monsanto paid Futurama for their support, in order to glorify the deeds of the company and their genetic modifications of food. They also believe that the corporation was using the show to convince children that what they do is good. Whew, now that's a theory.
Typical 20th century attitude.
So, there you have it, some of the craziest Futurama theories out there. What did you think of these theories? Do you believe any of them could be true? Do you have any theories that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments below and hit subscribe to stay up to date with the latest from Screen Rant.